under the control of the ministry, because it can be misused and it can be abused. The other question I have is the issue of, you talked of integration policy, refugee integration policy, you talked of Marshall Plan, you talked of Kenya Urban Support Program. All these programs need funding. And Kenya Urban Support Program, what I know, is a World Bank funded. It must be a loan. Another program funded as a result of UNHCR refugees aspect is K.D, which is not hosted under your ministry president Asal. That's also funded through a World Bank loan. Kenya government having hosted refugees for 35 years or 40 years, burdened with all those environmentally, socially, economically. It looks like the partners, the donors, have left the problem to us. And we want to solve all the problems left to us through loans. How are you engaging with the partners to make sure that we don't solve these problems by burdening ourselves with more loans? Are they putting inside? Are there grants in those programs? And how much of a grant is that? That's my second question. The third question is free visa. We commend, we support the president prerogative of making Kenya a free visa entry country. But does that have effect on drug trafficking? Could this make Kenya a free passage for drug traffickers? How well is the ministry prepared in averting that? Because when we are in JKIA, we don't see canines. Enough canines to avert smoke dog sniffers, machines. The ones I've seen in Tel Aviv is high-tech. How much is the ministry prepared prepared to avert drug trafficking as a result of free visa on arrival? Those are my questions, and thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, as I answer the questions, we'll report that at 11:30 I'm appearing before another committee of the House, so that you could indulge me. Oh, actually, it was supposed to have been now, but it's fine. Yeah, Chair. I agree with the Honorable David Ocheng, my former student who is now doing oversight, that the key issue about the Northern Corridor, other than traffic and security management, is competitiveness for trade in the region. The presidential directive that I referred to, which was issued from Mombasa 3 weeks ago by President William Ruto, was very particular on the Northern Corridor. And it was very particular. It was, in fact, he made that declaration after meeting the port users in the port of Mombasa. It was one of the resolutions of the port users meeting with the president, that we are losing our competitiveness because of the delays and the corruption issues around the corridor. Therefore, in that context, the removal or the directive of the removal of roadblocks has been expedited or has been informed by the need to increase Kenya's competitiveness in the region, because we are losing it. And as I have assured this committee a few minutes ago, Chair, I want to repeat, we will remove all roadblocks from the Northern Corridor and elsewhere by 1st of November. There will be no excuses, and I'm willing to come back here in November to report progress. We have to do it. In terms of what happens after the removal of the roadblocks, I have said there is the cameras issue that will deal with the speed issues, and then the picketing, the patrols, are also inevitable because from a security standpoint, we will still have a bit of that. We cannot leave these, especially transit and commercial vehicles, flying all the way from Mombasa without any policing of some kind. It can actually be counterproductive in terms of the safety of those goods and in terms of attacks. I do accept we have a national problem called corruption, and I don't think any agency of the government of Kenya is free from this problem. I have said that we have a problem of corrupt police officers, corrupt immigration officers. I have received a lot of complaints. The president has received complaints even from his counterparts outside this country, that as a country we have elements within the public service who are corrupt. And I am saying this again for the avoidance of doubt, that whereas we have very patriotic police officers who are going out of their way to secure the country, sometimes with their own lives, we have others who are corrupt. They are taking bribes, they are harassing motorists, and the same case applies to our immigration officers. I therefore want to say, yes, we have a problem, and I want to inform your committee chair that I'll take leadership in cleaning up the mess that we have in the agencies that fall within my ministry. As I have said, I have received credible intelligence that could suggest that part of our problem in the processing of passport is a corruption problem. And in my second accountability statement, which I gave in May, I admitted we have a problem with immigration. And I want to commit that I'll provide leadership there. We will clean Nyayo House from corruption and all manner of crimes. There are good officers who are there serving the country very patriotically, but there are few. There are few. That is the problem. There are others there collecting bribes and harassing the people of Kenya to get services which they should be getting for free and as their right. So, Chair, I have managed greater challenges in the last 10 months. And I think since some of the issues that were really running out of hand are now manageable, I will take the challenge which has been given to me. I will spend a bit more time physically to provide the leadership that we require and clean up that Nyayo House place. Many Kenyans have suffered from that place. And we will take very drastic action. If need be, we'll seal off the place and declare it a scene of crime. Because you cannot have a public office where people, I have sometimes done impromptu visits there at very odd hours. As early as 6 a.m., you'll find Kenyans queuing all the way to Teleposta. I don't know, it's a bad image. And so we will rid that place of all criminals, including the brokers who extort money around there. I have already made, this week I have had a very candid discussion with the PS and the Director of Immigration. And we have agreed on what to do. And it's not going to be business as usual. we must clean up, because with that kind of situation, then it appears to me that perhaps some of the challenges we are having around terrorism could be perpetuated through some of these practices. It's going to be impossible going forward for a person who does not qualify to get a passport or an ID of the Republic of Kenya. And the solution is not in punishing some people who come from certain parts of the country and presenting them to long delays. I was in Moyale 2 months ago, and I was shocked that there are children there who are 21. They applied for IDs at 18, and 3 years until now, they do not have identity cards. That is not the solution. The solution is cleaning up the place, and I commit I will do the job. Chair, on the issue of the fear that the patrols will still perpetuate the same corruption, I think there is a way we will handle that, because the policy framework we want to enforce is that transit vehicles should not be stopped unless there is a commission of a cognizable offense. The way bridges can help us in managing the other security concerns, but the patrols should be just to make sure that criminals are aware that the corridor is policed. Is best practice even internationally. Yeah, other than criminals knowing that now there is no single police officer on site, and those people transporting goods are on their own. Then, Chair, is we have had the member for Kericho. She has said there is a lot of crime and social evils around the places where trucks stop overnight. So from our side, we can only say that we will enhance our security surveillance to make sure that the people are safe. Secondly, Chair, our role is to ensure also that children who are supposed to be in school are not taken into pubs and other places and recruited into irresponsible behavior. So our chiefs will be asking our national government administration officers on all those places, right from Mariakani all the way to Malaba, to make sure that special enforcement around kids, around children, is enhanced. I agree we have understaffing at the one-stop border points, and that matter has been brought to my attention. Not just the immigration officers, but other critical state agencies, including Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEFIS, and so forth and so on. And I have been directed to ensure that we increase the numbers. We are going to increase the staffing not only of immigration officers but all critical government agencies, because we are coordinating that. I've been asked to ensure that we double the number of staff that we have in all our key border points, to ensure that we don't overwork our staff members. I agree that we should be getting more benefits from our long-standing solidarity with the people who have come to our country as refugees from troubled countries. And I think that has been one of my demands. When I came, the Shirika plan that I'm talking about, it was called Marshall Plan. We are the ones who baptized it to Shirika Plan to give it a more Kenyan flavor. One of the things that must be in that plan is the responsibility of other partners, because the refugee problem is a burden for the world, and the principle that operates is burden sharing, not burden shifting. So the country that hosts the refugee caseload hosts them on behalf of the world, because they are human beings, they have had problems in their countries, so the country they go to hosts them on behalf of the rest of the world. So we are going to demand in the programs that will emanate from the implementation of the Shirika plan that we entrench the principle of burden sharing to ensure that development partners also make their contribution. And number two, going forward, our peace engagement and peace building engagements must include the benefit for the country on the achievement of the stability in those countries as demanded by the member for Kenya. Honorable Chair, I think other than that, there were a few other issues. In terms of our responsibility as a country to, the issue of the database, I think one of the members raised the issue of the database being in possession of UNHCR. Is the chair actually. It is true that for a long time our country was not doing what it should, and therefore the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees stepped in. Yet it is the core mandate and responsibility and duty of government to make sure that the database and the processing of all people within the territory is done by government. We are going to take over. We have actually started that process, complete takeover, that process, and we are a management register for the country, which will bring together the master register, population register, will bring together component of all the citizens of Kenya. That is the people who have IDs of Kenya. Then we are going to have all foreign nationals who are resident in Kenya in another register. The third register will be for refugees and asylum seekers. And this will be under the control of the government of Kenya and not any foreign country or foreign entity. We are going to take over this refugee status determination process completely, so that an asylum seeker is processed and vetted by us, not by the UNHCR and not by any other partner, by us. So we are taking over the entire process and make sure that our security concerns are taken care of, so that we don't have these security challenges. The issue of vetting has been raised. We still insist that all Kenyans should access identity documents in the shortest time possible, and it should be uniform for every Kenyan under the principle of non-discrimination. The vetting of children, of course, is to ensure that they are of age, and there's a bit of that. But the bottom line is that no Kenyan should wait for an ID for more than 21 days. I agree. I made that directive. The department has come back to me as saying that there are certain things they require from us, which some of them have sorted. Marsabit, the Honorable Naomi, can now be realized, including other commitments I made. I made a commitment for Kiunga, and I think now we are ready to roll out that the national identity card and the passport. The capital outlay is big. We will have to rely on a bit of private capital without compromising security, and therefore we are exploring the hosting of the printing of those documents at the government printer, so that the people doing it is us, but the equipment could be leased, and whoever has given us the equipment can get their they recoup their investment over time. They don't have to be the ones printing for us. So we will ensure that we take care of our national security without again being unable to offer the service, because the resources required are huge to transform Kenya's issuance of security document to the world standards. So we are asking, we may either lease or enter into a lease to own agreement to get the sophisticated equipment that will process enough passport and IDs, but the work will be done by us at the government printer, because the government printer at the moment is well established, but the machinery, the equipment there is that which should belong to the museums. It is completely dysfunctional, dilapidated. So it's just a bit of partnering with the private sector, not to do the work, but to support us to acquire the kind of equipment and technology that is required. I agree. We are still having a passport backlog. We had hoped that we'll clear it by July. Until now, we have a backlog of about 58,000, and we are printing about 5,000 passports per day, 2,500 in the day, 2,500 in the night. We had a problem. The Department of Immigration did not have appropriations in aid. It was generating a lot of income, but it goes to Treasury, and they are left there. They can't buy even a printer worth 100 million, yet they are producing nearly 20 billion a year. So we have got some appropriations in aid now. We are increasing the capacity, and I believe by the next, when I give my next public accountability statement in a month's time, I will have reports on where we are. We will clear that backlog, and we will turn, while the ID might take up to 21 days because of maybe special security procedures, the passport must take 7 days. And in another year, I wait from 7 days to 3 days. And in emergency cases, 24 hours. So we reach there, Chair. Sister, the member for West Pokot, I remember all the promises I made. I have fulfilled some of them. You asked for a GSU camp. It was established the next day. The what is remaining is now the a few things like the reconstruction of schools, which is ongoing with the support of the military. And then also I promised to increase the administrative units, which I'll be coming there in September to add a few more divisions, locations and sub-counties to enhance security in that area. But I remember all the promises I made. That's why I go with my notebook wherever I go. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor. I think we'll leave it at that. But
Chair, maybe before you close, I wanted to hear some of these machines recordable like this.
The Kenya is for sure going into a third generation ID. That generation ID will be a combination of a digital format, which will not be physical. It will be on your phone, but then it will also be in form of a machine readable card for special cases where you may want to swipe a card. So it's the same ID, but which is digital or digitalized and readable in a machine. And those are world standards. You know, when you want free movement of people, then the ID must be machine readable. You can't have a piece of paper that is an ID which you cannot verify electronically that it is that person you're talking about. So we are going to in fact, we have until next month to report progress on the third generation ID, but there will be an option of a paperless ID which is on your phone, and we will give every adult, we'll convert the current IDs into a personal number for the adults, and every newborn gets a personal number, which becomes the number of at birth. It becomes their ID number when they reach the age of majority. It becomes their death certificate number when they exit the world. So it will be one number for life. We will call it Maisha number. But those are things we are still, and we will bring it here. We will bring it here. We will have your input. And for us, we don't want to get into the politics around it. We want to concentrate on the solution part of it. So those are some of the ideas we're entertaining to make sure that we move to the next level of where the world has gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor CS. I'll give 1 second the new members last year.
Prompt if that happens. Thank you, CS, and thank you, Chair.
Honorable Kasiwe, one question maybe.
Thank you, Chair. I have 2 questions to the CS. Number 1, I wanted to know from the CS some of the examples of successful collaboration that have yielded effective results or solutions